GNASS. Two degenerates, both sides of the border. John Santino. Alex Lacasse. The Great North American Sports Show. Welcome into another edition of GNASS. Had to make sure my hair is good before we record, Alex. It's all about the moneymaker. You know that, right?
Absolutely. My moneymaker, we can't show on this broadcast.
Oh, you sure about that? It's not that X-rated, is it? What? How are things going in New Hampshire, buddy? Now that you're back home, of course.
Sweated out a lot of the bad that happened in Toronto. And by bad, I mean fun. Of course, thank you to all the good people of Toronto, John most included, except for the one Dennison who tried to fight me during Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. But yes, fun time was had by all.
Alex, maybe he should have tried to fight you on Game 7 because the Celtics actually won that game.
Yeah, he could have just he could have just taken me out of my misery and just like one punched me, and maybe I would have been lucky enough to expire. Anyways, John, eat your hearts out. San Jose, Columbus, Sunrise, Florida.
Sorry, Evan.
Arizona, all the other loser NHL expansion cities, because the Las Vegas Golden Knights ended their hard scrabble 6-year odyssey to hoist the Stanley Cup in the desert as we record on the evening of June 19th in the year of our what deity of whatever's choosing in 2023. Yes, the Vegas Knights won the Stanley Cup. They weren't the only champions being crowned this month. As just last week, the Nuggets climbed the top of the NBA ladder with Nikola Jokic leading the way with an historic NBA Finals performance. We'll break down how they got it done, and we'll share our thoughts on the upcoming draft. In This Week in Social Media, a Patriots starting cornerback was nice enough to offer some words of encouragement to John Morant following his 25-game suspension for flashing a gun in the seat of a car. Well, this same player would have been offered best suited to follow his own advice, as we'll find out. And Manchester City's Jack Grealish is still drunk. And as always, we'll wrap out with Degenerates Corner, and one of us is about to break our one cardinal rule: never to bet on baseball. But first, John,
wonder who that'll be.
But first, John, and, how much did all of the hockey-loving fanatics up in your native Canada love that Stanley Cup final?
If you watched a minute of it, shame on you. That's all I'm going to say. Shame on you. That was awful.
Yeah, I feel like Canadians watching that's rewarding bad behavior on Gary Bettman's part.
Everything about that was bad. From the marketing, okay, maybe if they went about the Vegas showmanship, that'd be like a different thing, and they made it this whole event. This was poorly marketed. It was a bad matchup. Sergei Bobrovsky went back into being, Sergei Bobrovsky from this season. And that's all she wrote. It was uneventful. Let's be real, like Vegas curb stomped them all the way through. This thing was over game 2. Like, Alex, I don't know, what were your thoughts watching it?
Before this playoffs started, John, I didn't have the guts to pick them, but I said it kind of feels like now or never for Vegas. Either they're going to break through, or they're just going to be one of these teams that's kind of perennial good. Maybe they'll go to the playoffs generally, but now it's like they really got to get over the top and win this thing. And I think they brought in the right coach in Bruce Cassidy. He's good for being kind of this spark plug and getting the best out of a team. But I think that also works against him because he demands so much of his players. Once that honeymoon wears off, the players quit on him really quickly. So he'll be a great coach in Edmonton in 3 years.
Once Connor McDavid leaves, but
yes. But I just think that I think maybe Vegas was undersold this whole time because they have had this playoff failure and they hadn't really gotten it done. And but there were, I mean, they've been building this thing for so long, and they have a team that goes to Stanley Cup their first year as a team. That wasn't good enough, and they got to bring in franchise defenseman Petrolangelo. They bring in their new captain Mark Stone. These last couple of years.
One thing that I will salute Vegas for, because here's the thing: it was an uneventful final. It wasn't a great matchup, not very well marketed. There wasn't a lot of TV appeal unless you're really from those two markets or you're going to visit those cities. But one thing I will say that everyone needs to look at with these two teams is they are both a perfect example of, oh, well, I don't really have the core, and this is any sport too. I don't really have the core that I like or can really contend for me. So I'm just going to trade until it works. Vegas trades for Mark Stone, trades for Jack Eichel, signs Alex Pietrangelo.
Of course, Eichel, yeah.
Like, then you look at Florida, trades for Matthew Tkachuk, who nominated for the MVP, by the way, this year. Trades for Brandon Montour. Like, it's these are all integral pieces of this core. And by the way, Sergei Bobrovsky, who also got them to the final. Granted, he was kind of a shooter in the final, but he got them there. Signed via free agency, highest paid goalie in the league. Also, by the way, first, if I'm not mistaken, or second $10 million player in the Stanley Cup Finals to Carey Price, since they signed their contract as well.
And I wonder if that's just
Jack Eichel.
Your point is well taken, John, but I wonder if that's more a product of how hockey teams are built, whereas you can win with parts that are less than the sum of the overall, body of the team, right? Versus like in the NBA, there's so few roster spots. There's all this minutia when it comes to trading. And it's really hard to swap out and make a real basketball trade, talent for talent. Either you're trading for someone's disgruntled superstar and you're most likely giving up pennies on the dollar or a junk load or a crap load of draft picks, or you're trading with a rebuilding team that all they want are picks.
I'd argue that hockey is harder for player movement because of the cultural aspects of it. Like, in terms of hockey's very like boys club, like you stay on the same team. I don't know why, it's fucking stupid. But like, point being is they do it. And and then on top of that, you have the fact that it's like a triple hard salary cap, it feels like. And what I mean by that, and you hear that term a lot with like within hockey circles,
I guess I should just add the caveat, like, I understand like blowing it all up and starting over in the NBA, but I'm just saying like make trades on the fly that completely change a team's DNA, but then they still remain competitive on the other side.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying is that you almost never see that in hockey. And this is two of the rare examples where you do, and it's worked out well. Like, oftentimes you'll see teams adding to the cores that they have, but actually making these big changes is not, it's not very common in hockey, especially once you have players like at the superstar level. Like, even if they're making like a core shift, so to speak, it'd be like the equivalent, Alex, like your constant malign. It'd be like trading Marcus Smart, where it's like a player who, it's not that like you don't want to trade him per se. It's like his contract's smaller. It's easier to like deal in the long run. It's not like one of these big, like, max players, all perennial all-stars that you generally see in the NBA going like one way or another. And I get your point about disgruntled stars, but we're only just starting to see that in the NHL. And realistically, until they raise the salary cap, man, it's going to be so hard for the next couple of years for teams to make these big moves. So that's why I was saying credit to Vegas, credit to Florida for making them. But it's just the world we're in with the NHL, man. Kind of that fuck Gary life.
So we'll move on to the hardwood in a second, John. But just when you look at Vegas, do you think that they've built something and this is going to be a team that the league's going to have to deal with for a few years, or are they more of a one-off team like who's won it recently? Drawing a blank here.
Like won it and like dropped off.
Like Washington. Are they more like the Capitals?
Yeah, I was gonna say. No, I think they've actually built something. Because one thing, like I said, that Vegas does that no other team does, and this is what I mean by like the cultural problems in hockey. So Vegas has a horrible reputation amongst the players. The reason for that is they are ruthless. If they don't win, or if they think the move will improve their team, they're making that move. And the fact of the matter is we don't see that enough in the NHL. And like look at the team I root for. The Leafs have the same 4 fucking guys do it every year and it never works. But Vegas will not let that happen. And that's why I think Vegas actually has a chance to be competitive for years after this, because their all-star goalie Logan Thompson's coming back. He's on a contract that's on sub $1 million, I believe, for the next 2 seasons. So it's a huge bonus to have an all-star goaltender that low on the salary cap. And on top of that, like I said, like, dude, when you're ruthless, like you can do anything, especially in hockey, because you're basically taking candy from a baby. But it's not as easy as that to trade. But like I said, I do have confidence that Vegas can keep this rolling. Alex, what about
Right. And
you? How do you feeling
yeah,
about Bruce Cassidy and the Golden Knights?
well, it is interesting, and maybe I guess when Bruce Cassidy did not deserve to be fired as coach of the Bruins, and
In
I
his living
understand
room.
in his living room, I I understand the arguments like, well, he just lost the room and the players were done playing for him. And that's fine, and I get it. Coaches are hired to get fired, especially in hockey. But like I like good for Cassidy to come back and be the guy that nudges this core that was a championship core over the finish line. Like I alluded to earlier, I think he really wears thin with the players, and he wears out his welcome maybe
Eh,
quicker than most.
Vegas has been through like 4 coaches already. It's
Exactly.
fine.
They've only been in the league for 6 years.
No, but
So
that's my point is like Vegas is ruthless, dude. If something ain't working, like whether it's Bruce Cassidy, the players, like, yo, they make changes. Like they're one of the few NHL teams that will go very
right,
aggressive
but
on a changes
so
set.
I think that, but that it does come with a double-edged sword, because then if the players get too comfortable, and so maybe they stick with his core for a little bit, then you fire the coach. The players get a little bit too entrenched and comfortable. Maybe Vegas doesn't do these wholesale changes, or they're a little reluctant to now they finally won the cup. Um, so
What about that?
I mean, maybe they're just that team, and like I get good on them if they if they want to keep doing that. I think that's how you have to stay competitive in pro sports.
I think
But
that they're really banking on the fact that they've almost built up a suburban community where players can live, and the fact that they're a tax-free state, like they're basically banking that they can just do this shit, I think, for like as long as they can. And we'll see how it goes. Like to your point, like in the long run, they're probably gonna ultimately have trouble luring certain free agents. Like, because dude, no one likes being traded a year into their contract.
mhm.
But shout out Phil Kessel, gets to eat hot dogs from the cup again.
Yes, Phil Kessel, the three-time winner now. Who would have
Mhm.
thought?
His Yo, did you see his quote? By the way, again, about to move on to the hardwood. We can't dwell on the Stanley Cup final too much. It doesn't deserve this much respect. But his quote before, or his quote just from the parade was, "It just reminds me of those times I was in Toronto and you guys said I couldn't win, and now I've won 3 times." He said, eating a hot dog.
Yep, good for Phil.
Love Phil. He's just misunderstood, Alex. He's just misunderstood.
That he is.
Alex, we did have another winner though, and this one was on the hardwood. The Denver Nuggets took home the ship. So, buddy, you have been, of course, the biggest Nikola Jokic fan in the actually you really haven't, but how you feeling about this championship? Because I know that you're not feeling great about the Miami Heat. So we'll start there.
Yeah, I mean, I was pulling for the Nuggets, and I look, credit to the Miami Heat for getting there, but their role, like, granted, it's a product of the Celtic being gutless, but the Heat role players showed up and they played hard for that Eastern Conference Final series. However, it just felt like they were doing it with smoke and mirrors the whole time. And I think they just simply got exposed here by a better, superior basketball team in the NBA Finals. And that's why it was a gentleman's sweep. That game 5 to close it out, it looked like the Heat had taken back a little bit of momentum, and the Nuggets just ran by him and stole and took the thing. And that's what a championship basketball team does. And so I think Jokic probably proved that he was a worthy 3-time MVP award winner, the first one since Larry Bird in the mid 80s. But obviously that went to Joel Embiid. So, I mean, I think Jokic would rather take a championship a million times out of 10. But I just like, it goes to show you like what you can do with a basketball team if you have the pieces that fit together. And I think the pieces fit together on the Nuggets better than any other team this season. And their 2 best players, yes, they're very, very good finishers, but they're also exceptional playmakers. And so when you have that unselfish dynamic between your two best players, both so they can play a two-man game off each other, but to get their teammates involved, like that makes for a really good basketball team.
They're also just straight axe murderers in the playoffs, like Murray and Jokic. Like they're ridiculous. Like I think they're going to be an all-time duo. Like the score had like a special on them, like talking about this. Like I think they just like it's just to your point. Like they can do so many different things for you, and they find a way to just hit that next gear when the games matter most. Like you always talk about, Alex, like how with the Celtics, it's like almost like a maturity thing where when these moments hit, it's like they don't know what to do, or it's like they almost like battle themselves. Like when it comes to Murray and Jokic, it's like the complete opposite. Like they know it's the playoffs, so they take that next step immediately. And
Yeah,
like
Jokic just gets on the free throw line and they run a play through him.
bingo. And
Wow,
you
wow, what a concept, John.
like oh, like they're doubling him. Murray just shoots a three. Cool. Like they've won 7 of 9 playoff series now with Murray and Jokic, both because obviously there were the 2 playoffs where Murray didn't play with the knee injury. But
Mhm.
this is just ridiculousness, man. Like this is a team that's built for the future. Like they're averaging combined when they play together over 50 points combined. To your point, like over 20 assists, like I think 17 rebounds. Like it's ridiculous how good they are in the playoffs together. And I think we're just starting to see one of the best playoff duos in the history of the NBA kind of start off their legacy, provided, of course, that their dicks can continue to fly in the same locker room and the Nuggets can keep them. But you never
Well,
know
I mean,
the NBA.
I think Murray's been like, I mean, not to say that he was a cocky player by any stretch, but I think
He's
he's been humbled a little bit, having to come back, battle back from that injury, missing 2 postseasons, and then seeing how Jokic put that whole team on his back and made them still a competitive basketball team night in, night out. So I think there's that baked in respect that Murray has for Jokic.
no
If
100%.
yeah, if you think any duo like going right now has the on court chemistry that works, like now that they've won the championship, like I think these two have it.
It's
And maybe can you keep
it's
that core
the
together? Can you keep Gordon, who I think is the perfect power forward to play alongside Jokic, just with how versatile he is on defense, most especially. And then Porter is just this this other knockdown scorer who I think he's more of a jump shooter, but he can put it on the floor and he can create his own shot.
if he didn't have the injuries, Porter is like one of those cases of like almost what if, because it's like it's if he didn't have those injuries, it's like he
He would
can
have been a number one
potentially
pick.
be yeah, exactly. Like he potentially be the star player on this team, not just like one of the better complementary pieces. And to your point, like one thing with Jamal Murray as well is like I said, like he clearly has another level in the playoffs. And we saw it in that game 4 when they both put when him and Jokic both matched triple doubles. Nikola Jokic, by the way, I think he had 10 triple doubles in this playoffs or something like that, or 11. And the next, like the rest of the NBA, I think had 4, if I'm not mistaken.
First 30-20-10 game in NBA Finals history.
Yep. Like this is a team that's going to be a problem for a long time. And I think to your point, Alex, like their 2 stars fit perfectly cohesively together and they're going to be together for a long time. And also, I think his name's Christian Brown, the reserve guard on the Nuggets.
Yeah, the shooter they got from Kansas.
Okay,
Kind of more of
him.
a combo
So
guard, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
just shout out to him real quick. It's his 4th championship overall in 6 seasons between the NCAA, high school, and NBA.
Yeah, man, I think he's like the first player since the 80s to win a championship and like a college championship and the NBA championship
Yep.
within a year of
Yeah.
each other.
Like absolutely ridiculous. Like just guy wins everything. Like this team is just built to last, man. But I think
And
that's enough.
like
Okay,
no,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, like, also, like, I think credit to Coach Mike Malone. Like, I think Mike Malone is one of the more demanding coaches in that league, and his players didn't. It's really easy to quit on your coach in the NBA and get him fired, but those
What?
guys stuck with it. They stuck with the program, and they asked more of themselves, and I
You're
think that's why they got it done.
you're telling me you're gonna pick the coach over the $50 million whiner?
Yeah, and that's usually not how it goes in that league, but sometimes I mean, I think sometimes it works. I mean, it works for the Heat too. That they've stuck with their coach, even.
That's true. Well, you got to remember stability builds chemistry in pro sports, like in terms of like your identity as a team and things like that. But Alex, I think that's enough praising the Nuggets right now. You did mention the Heat. Let's move on to them. How you feeling about the Heat? What would you do if you're the Heat? Like, what do you do next? What's up for what do you do next for the
I
Heat?
think I think Bradley Beal was the better player for that. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. If they get Damian Lillard, with as what some of the rumors are, that's going to be dangerous. From from my perspective as a Celtics fan. But he instantly becomes the best offensive player. And how does Jimmy Butler take that? And, you know, Jimmy Butler, granted, Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns were kids. They played
I
with in Minnesota that he got pissed at them. But does Jimmy Butler's been first banana for a while down at South Beach? How does that go with Dame time there? Might work.
I think he takes that better than you think, because I think the biggest problem with,
But
to
then
your
what does Miami
point.
have to give up to? What do you think Miami gives up? It's probably a
Oh,
package round hero.
here's the thing. That's the problem. I don't see how Miami can construct this deal, because realistically, if you're thinking about this with salaries and things like that, like you would think, to your point, they have no other assets besides Hero, and just in terms of salary, like Kyle Lowry would have to be going the other way, I would think as well.
Right. So then
Just to
the
match
Blazers?
Dame. Like
Yeah, are the Blazers that committed to tanking where they just want to take Kyle Lowry's contract? And
dude,
maybe
you
they
if
are,
you're
but
if you're if you're getting rid of Dame, I think that's the move. Like you're basically getting young players and you're going to get to the top of the draft. And I think if that's the case, like I think the Heat are going to kind of just be like, all right, look, we'll give you all the assets we have, like all the pick swaps and all that stuff, but you got to take Kyle. Like you got to take, like we have no place to put him basically. And like it's just you got to, because you got to make the salaries match, man. And Dame's on a
oh
super
yeah, of
max,
course. Yeah.
and that's,
And so is it Kyle plus what's
oh
his
no, that's what I'm
face?
saying. I think it'd be Hero, Kyle, and picks, like lots of
All the
picks,
picks.
like
I
all the
mean,
picks. But
I think that's really the only where, unless they're going to build around Adebayo, but I don't know why you ship Adebayo out. He's your second best player.
I don't think you, not just that, they don't really, like they have a lot of depth at their wings and their guards, but that's the one place they're a little thin. Is
Right. Yeah. They don't have a big.
exactly. And Adebayo is kind of very useful. So I can't imagine them being like, oh yeah, sure. But we've seen stranger things in the NBA.
Right. And so, but that brings up, where the NBA draft is, and you read all the reports. I think there's going to be a lot of activity during this draft because the belief is among talent evaluators, the next at least two drafts might be are going to be weaker on talent. And, I don't know how you feel about where the Raptors are going into this draft, but because of
Not
the
good.
Derek White trade, the Celtics now have the 35th pick. The Celtics need to come away with a player. Like there's like no more wasted draft picks. Like find a guy who fills a role on this team. And I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation. Like you gotta hit like make, especially if there's this talk that Jaylen Brown's gonna get the supermax contract, then
I think
you need cheap contracts on your roster that can contribute.
I think you can definitely find a player at the 35th pick. I think the problem, not the problem, I should say, there are certain teams that are definitely better, like the Raptors, the Heat, especially, that are better at that than others. I think ultimately, though, to your point, there's going to be tons of movement. Like we're already seeing it, like with the Raptors, like Fred VanVleet's already opted out of his contract. They're already talking sign and trade. Pascal Siakam's already, like, I know that they're going to be shopping him just based on where the
Draymond
team's at.
Green, and obviously the biggest news on the board, Bradley Beal gets traded.
Yep, Bradley
And
Beal, Draymond Green. Yep. Let's talk about Bradley Beal first, though. How you feeling about the Beal trade, man? The new, what is it? Big four, five, seven?
if DeAndre Ayton really fancies himself as part of a big four, I mean, maybe Ayton probably gets shipped out because he does. We know how much he doesn't like being third banana or fourth banana with Chris Paul in the locker room. Now that there's unquestionably another better player in Bradley Beal there, so Bradley Beal's the 3-point numbers have been declining the last 2 years. If you're telling me he plays like the Ray Allen role on the Celtics, as just the guy is willing to stand in the corner on offense, and if maybe he gets his efficiency back up, but I'm not sold on it. To be honest, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker need to prove that they can win at a high level, and Kevin Durant needs to prove he can lead a team, and he's not getting any younger. So I guess I have to see it on the court, and I think it's important that they keep DeAndre Ayton, but maybe they have to move him to fill out the rest of the roster. And
I
they split him into three maybe somewhat productive bodies, but not a starting NBA center,
I like the trade for Phoenix a lot, but I think
Well,
that
they gave him next to nothing to get him. So I mean,
yeah,
of course you
exactly.
like
That's
it for
why. That's
Phoenix.
why I really, really like the trade because I think from if you're looking at it from Beal's standpoint, like the idea is that KD, to your point, is aging. So Beal's going to come in, relieve some of that scoring load, and then obviously he's a superior player to Paul right now. All he has to do is kind of get back to some of the playmaking he had a couple years ago. And theoretically, you're almost replacing Paul already in terms of the playmaking on the offense because Booker can play a little bit of like that primary ball handler, point guard type position. Now, the thing that I'm thinking though immediately with this trade, and to your point, is like I have a lot of hesitancy on calling them like the favorite to win the championship or like a serious contender because I still think that they were a bit exposed and that they need a little bit of like I don't know, like something's off about that core. It just feels like they need a little bit of toughness, like a little bit of grit and glue in
Yeah,
there.
they
And
need
like
DeAndre Ayton to play tough, and the
exactly.
problem is
And
he
like
doesn't, and he does not play like he's 7'1" or 7 feet tall, whatever.
exactly. Like I feel like they just need like a banger down low to play with all these guys. And then like your other guy who you throw in is someone like a PJ Tucker or like a Bruce Bowen who's just like tough on defense and can shoot a couple threes. And like I think that's how they need to round out this team. And it just doesn't feel like that's going to happen the way that they've sort of been building up in Phoenix. And that's why I think although this is a fantastic trade, I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch, very similar to the 7-second Suns back in the day. But I just something's off about them, man. Like, what about you, Alex? What are you looking forward to? Not just with like, let's start with the Bradley Beal trade, but then the rest of the Western Conference.
I mean, you know how I feel about combo guards, John. And so you're essentially asking Bradley Beal to be your combo guard, point guard, with Devin Booker also playing. Like, I think with two guys that have been scorers, I mean, we'll see if it works, but I think that's asking two players to do not what their best skill set is doing. I mean, and then the ball's gonna be Kevin Durant's hands
Most
90%
often.
of the time. Yeah, 90% of the time, anyways. Not 90% of the time, but you get the idea.
Enough.
So until proven otherwise, and if the Nuggets keep, those top four guys together, I still look at them as the most balanced team out there. And now that they've finally broken through and done it, how can you say that they're not the favorite right now? Dallas will probably be really active. I mean, Lord knows they jumped, they to tank their way out of the playoffs to make sure that they kept their pick this year. So they're going to be really active. Uh, you know,
we all know Mark Cuban loves entertaining free agents. He's not very good at landing them, but he loves entertaining
yes.
them.
So I'm sure that they'll pull out all the stops there. And who is it? Shouldn't do this on air. I'm looking at the draft order. I think, but in Portland is supposed to be very active, and I think they're picking third or fourth.
I mean, they might be picking higher if Dame's gone, so we'll see. Or like
Yeah, no, yeah,
depending because depending on what they get back, right? So
they're picking fourth. I mean, obviously San Antonio's not giving up Victor
well,
Wembanyama.
not him, but like you might see some like maybe if their package gets big enough, they move up to like 2 or 3. But well, depends on who they want in the draft. Because yeah,
And
they're not
Charlotte's
getting
going to be
more.
interesting now too because Jordan's, he sold the team or he's in agreement to sell the team. So it'd be I'm sure their strategy is just the best player available, and so it's interesting to see who they value, whether that's Brandon Miller, the Alabama guy, who there's the the issue of him being a distance I don't want to say accessory, that's not a fair word, but
Accessory.
distantly connected to a murder that took place at the University of Alabama. Um, or if Scoot Henderson, who all the prognosticators have had as the number 2 pick for most of this year, but I think Brandon Miller, because he's 6'9", he plays the wing. maybe he's a little more value at that spot. I should say, full this, like, Brandon Miller, like, he has not been charged in connection with this murder at all, but there's enough there.
Allegedly.
He has not been charged in connection with this murder in any way, shape, or form.
He's allegedly
But he
in
was
connection.
he was questioned by police, and he supposedly brought the gun that was used to commit the murder to the dude who pulled the trigger that night. It wasn't his gun. It wasn't Miller's gun, but yeah, not good. Not good. Especially if you're drafting to be your franchise player in Charlotte, they keep tripping over their own hog time and time again to get off the ground. And so who knows?
Yeah, but they got Scary Terry, so it's all fine, man.
I trade Terry. I trade Marcus Smart for Terry Rozier back, and I'm second.
Honestly, if they could redo that's what you do.
Yes.
Like, don't even think twice about that one.
Don't even think twice about that one.
Oh,
Well,
Alex,
John, what do you say we take a break and then come back with this week in social media, find out who's still drunk.
Ooh, and we're back.
And we're
Alex,
back.
this week in social media, let's dive right into it. Social media is often a cesspool, but sometimes we got to take a pause, see what's out there, see what catches our eye. Alex, we'll start with you, my friend. What caught your eye this week?
Well, John, as the NBA world knows, one of its brightest young stars, John Morant, will be suspended for the first 25 games to start next season, costing himself like something like 10-20 million dollars, a lot of money to make it, maybe not worth it to videotape yourself with the gunplay on the social medias and whatnot. Anyways, this is not about that, but it's about
maybe just put the phone away.
Yeah, maybe just put the phone away. We're gonna at least or don't use guns.
That's I mean, Alex. I mean, but if you must.
You must get off the Instagram live feed. Well, Patriots starting quarterback, or, well, he might not be the starting quarterback for that much longer, as we'll discuss. Jack Jones offered some maybe tough love for John Morant after he was suspended. So he tweets.
I believe the term is sage wisdom, Alex.
Yes, he tweets at John Morant. And this is after he was suspended. Dumb. You letting social media and your pride ruin your real money. Put them guns down and run that money up. Make one of your homies sign up for security or concealed carry if you feel like you need it that bad. But you the breadwinner, and you got to start acting like it. This was almost a month ago. He tweeted this on May 15th. Just last Friday, John, one Jack Jones was arrested at Boston's Logan Airport on multiple gun charges. He tried to bring 2 loaded Glock handguns in his carry-on through TSA.
Nice. He's got as many 9s on him as Wayne Gretzky.
And the problem, or like one of the many compounding problems, is he didn't have a license, at least on him, but I don't know if there's any subsequent follow-up if he is a licensed gun owner. But also, he had an extended magazine, and that's very illegal in Massachusetts without a federal firearms permit.
So you're saying that he didn't get one of his homies to get a concealed carry?
No, he did not in the month since he tweeted at John Morant. And one of the charges, the charge related to having that extended clip, that carries a mandatory minimum 2.5 years in Massachusetts State Prison.
Ooh.
So I don't know. Even if he was to plea out of this and plea to lesser charges, I don't know how he doesn't do jail time here. So really not really just dumb. I mean, I don't own firearms, John. I know a lot of Americans, there's more guns than people down here in the lower 48 and all 50 states for that matter. But I mean, to be dumb enough to just like, oh yeah, no, like in the year 2023, I'll just throw these. I'll throw these handguns in my carry-on bag. I'm sure I won't get caught up at security.
It's really weird, man. Like every year, someone get whether it's like a celebrity or an athlete, like someone always gets caught trying to bring a handgun on a plane, and it's like, seriously?
Well, like I can understand, like maybe like a state like Texas or North Dakota, you get on a plane and it's like, oh shit, I left my handgun in my duffel bag. Like they're like the security people look at you like, where's your gun, sir? Massachusetts, nah, Massachusetts is not one of those states.
That's fair.
They're not about that life in the Commonwealth. So yeah, Jack Jones, former, but most like he's going to be probably a former Patriots starting quarterback in not too long, so he gets a reign tomorrow.
No,
On
the term
Wednesday,
Alex is not
June
Alex.
19th.
He's not a former New England Patriots starting cornerback. He's a future Oakland Raiders starting cornerback.
Yes, that's true. I mean,
Or I guess
yeah,
Las Vegas
like
Raiders, excuse me, but
he didn't hurt anybody with the guns. Like he just had them.
they just
Like
happen
yeah,
to they
that's
just
something.
happen to be in
Yeah,
his
that is. You're right.
luggage.
You're right. That is something Mark Davis can
Stick
absolve.
handle.
He can absolve that. John, who's getting your social media shout out? We
Well,
tease.
Alex, we did tease it. And I'm going to ask you one question. If you had one goal from the time you were a child, and you only wanted to achieve this goal, and you did everything to achieve this goal, from even becoming a professional at this, and it's a sport, and you became a professional at the sport from the time you were 11. When you achieved your goal, how long would you be drinking for? And just note, when this man achieved this goal, it was exactly 1 week ago.
I guess it depends on how significant the goal
Like I
was.
said, your
Like,
lifetime dream, your lifelong
like,
dream.
like if I wanted to be like a pilot, like I don't think going on a bender would be the smartest thing. So,
Well, like I said, it's a sports goal. So say you wanted to be a baseball player, you win the World Series and the World Baseball Classic in the same year.
okay, yeah. All right. When you phrase it like that, then a month, a good month.
That's good because Jack
I'd,
Grealish is in the middle of
I'd be
that.
David Wells. Yeah, I'd be David Wells.
Jack Grealish is in the middle of that right now. He is so drunk he had to be carried into England duty. Please check out our GNASS Twitter feed because I have all of the exploits for you guys. It is an 8-minute long compilation of Mr. Jack Grealish, the most wonderful man in football or soccer, as we say it on this side of the pond, just having the time of his life after achieving his lifelong dream of winning the treble with Manchester City. So just first off, Greals, just I love you, Greals. Just keep being you. That's all I'm gonna say. This man is fantastic, Alex. And by the way, if you ever just want comedy, like you're sad one day, just YouTube Greals, like Jack Grealish. See what just Google Jack Grealish funny man. He's just a hilarious human. That's just it. Him drunk and him sober are not very different.
I would hope he I feel like sports would be a lot funnier if people could just like still smoke cigarettes. Like, how funny would it be? You know, you see like Roger Clemens like lean in like with a cigarette in his mouth, like be watching it. So I feel like this guy Grealish, like if he's just like running around like trying to like rip a butt on the
Alex,
tape, like, that would be
Alex,
funny.
I saw that this year. I saw Sergei Bobrovsky hacking a vape in between periods against my Maple Leafs, and I almost threw my remote through the TV because I was so upset that they couldn't score on this fucking guy. So, like, don't get me wrong, I do get the entertainment value behind it 100%, but like, oh my god, it's a whole frustrating thing. But don't worry, they will.
Lupinella just used to sit in that Seattle Kingdom dugout and just chain smoke away. It was the
Also, speaking of smoking on or at your practices, shout out Federico Bernardeschi of Toronto FC, lauded for his constant smoking around the camp or around the play or practice grounds.
he's like the best distance runner naturally.
Oh, of course, absolutely, like best stamina on the team, like easily.
All right. Well, we've had our fun. Unless you're Jack Jones, I guess it's time for Degenerate's Corner, John.
Sometimes she goes, sometimes it does. She didn't go. That's the way she goes.
22 black, 22 black. Ass, son of a bitch.
Fucking way she goes, he said.
Oh no, why did I bet the company payroll? Oh, Gil's in a lot of trouble.
Can the boys beat the number? We'll find out on Degenerate's Corner.
It's the way she goes, buddy. Fucking way she goes.
Woohoo! Degenerate's Corner it is, my friend. Let's get right into it. Alex, it's going to be a skip Degenerate's Corner because as we talked about it, it's pretty much the end of the sports season for everybody but baseball.
Yeah, and there's no CFL to bet on. The NBA Summer League is still a couple weeks away. So I did bad, John. I broke probably like the only real hard and fast rule we have on GNASS, other than the other stuff that would get us into a lot of trouble. But yeah, like I think our just in terms of like a show rule. I'm betting on baseball tonight.
You fucker.
Hear me out. Last week, the Red Sox went down to the Bronx, took 2 or 3 of the Yankees when their season was teetering. This week, their 3 best pitchers went. Tanner Houck took a ball off the face and he needed required stitches. Garrett Whitlock pitched well. Brian Bayo pitched last night for 7 innings, 1-run ball. They swept the Yankees. But in between, they dropped 3 or 4 to the Colorado Rockies. So, in light of that, they lost 2 or 3 to the Colorado Rockies. Tonight they play the Twins. The Twins are Vegas might have caught up with this. The Twins are actually favored. But we're still gonna take them on the run line. They're plus 145 on the run line, but my quasi-monopolistic book operator here in New Hampshire, that being DraftKings, has allowed me to boost that to 181. So I got that at plus 181, but plus 145 when the Red Sox aren't that good, people. They're just not that good. And the Twins are kind of the same team as the Red Sox, so maybe they got a little more to play for at home. So give me the Twins minus 1.5.
Buddy, you betting on baseball, man. I'm going to have to send you a bottle of Motrin pills because I already got a headache.
Yep. Oh, me too. It's like I probably watched like maybe a combined like 2.5 hours of Red Sox baseball this season.
Oh,
so I'm gonna be very, very mad if the Red Sox show up and play baseball tonight. But James Paxton's pitching, so he's out of witness protection. And
wait, what? James? Did you say James Paxton?
Yeah, I was surprised he was still in baseball too.
What?
Yeah,
he's a thing still.
No, I knew the Red Sox had signed him and he opted back into his contract, but yeah, he's in baseball still.
Jesus, I didn't think he pitched in like 4 years or something, but
yeah, it's been about that long.
Canadian ace James Paxton, shout out. But hey, man, it is what it is. I wish him the best. But Alex, because of that, I'm gonna take a long shot because I am loyal to our show rules. I do not bet on baseball because, well, I'm gonna be more of a savage. I'm gonna take the Dallas Stars to win next year's Stanley Cup at plus 1,600 because I refuse to bet on baseball under any circumstance. And we are without competitive soccer for I don't know, a few weeks because screw CONCACAF. It is what it is, man.
That's a big win against Canada last night.
Don't tell me about it, man. Canada needs to rebuild their whole center back core. It's something we can do on a GNASS short. By the way, that's one other thing we're going to.
Not like I was watching. I just heard it. A little birdie got in my ear. Well, John, any parting thoughts for the people? We do have a quick show announcement in that keep your eyes peeled for a lot of GNASS shorts coming your way as we have a somewhat of a summer hiatus from a full length shows, but we'll still have plenty of content as we make our way through the best time of the year, in my humble opinion.
Yep. Sorry, guys. Alex and I do need summer vacation, unfortunately, but we will be back. We will be shooting shorts all summer, and we will, of course, check in with the MLB. So thank you guys for listening. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. It helps with the algorithm.